As Hamas weighs a new proposal for a temporary truce in Gaza, protesters in the U.S. calling for a ceasefire have disrupted everything from commutes in New York City to a parade in Los Angeles. And in cities across the country, groups have now taken their fight to city halls, where in some cases, the topic is overtaking other priorities. Stephanie Tsai reports.
With the Israeli counteroffensive to the October 7th Hamas terror attack, the plight of Palestinians in Gaza and in the occupied West Bank has taken on new urgency to activists like Shireen Nasser, a Cleveland resident with strong ties to Palestine.
Yeah, like you like the little ones.
Yeah.
We are struggling every day. I wake up every morning and think of my dad, who is currently in the West Bank, and call him and be like, hey, just want to check on you, make sure you're still alive. We're watching, these horrific stories unfolding of our families back home.
She's channeled her grief into protest, and lately those protests have found their way to an unlikely venue, Cleveland City Hall.
If you see my humanity, that maybe the genocide of people that look like me, the family members of 25,000 Palestinians in the greater Cleveland area, will be worthy of this city's empathy.
Since October, the Cleveland City Council's weekly public comment period, usually a forum to vent about local issues, has been dominated by talk of a war on the other side of the world, says Council President Blaine Griffin.
I would say approximately 9 out of 10 commenters almost every week for the last 4 to 6 weeks have been people that speak on that conflict.
These citizens are almost all calling for the same thing.
Cleveland City Council can, should, and must pass a resolution calling for a ceasefire.
Join with other brave leaders in calls for a ceasefire.
Call for a ceasefire.
Over a dozen city councils in cities across the country have passed ceasefire resolutions, which range from condemnation of both sides of the war to calling for an end to U.S. military aid to Israel. Daniel Hopkins, a political scientist at the University of Pennsylvania, says it's all part of a growing trend.
We're seeing what political scientists term the nationalization of American politics. So increasingly, city council members, school board members, and other local officials whose training and whose experience is very much focused on their local communities, being forced oftentimes to weigh in on hot-button national issues on which they don't have a lot of experience.
The topic is ceasefire in Gaza.
I can't speak for all of my colleagues, but most of us never signed up to be Henry Kissinger.
Griffin says the protests are interfering with other city priorities.
Just keep reading first reading of emergency resolutions. Just keep moving.
I have a bank that is possibly going to be leaving the community. There's community members that want to come down and petition the government for that. There's people that want to talk about very critical issues. And I think the unfortunate part is that people have been drowned out and don't feel welcome in City Hall.
One of those who hasn't felt welcomed lately is Mark Ashid of the Jewish Federation of Cleveland. Watch as he speaks, 2 rows of activists walk out.
220 woke up not knowing that they would be kidnapped, snatched from their homes, and held hostage in Gaza by terrorists.
The feeling of hostility in that room was very palpable.
For 16 days, there's no equivalence. There's no justification.
1 second.
We're seeing the language turn to anti-Jewish language, not just language about the state of Israel or Israelis.
Because of the tenor of the crowd, Ashid says he no longer encourages his community to attend Cleveland City Council meetings. But his organization wrote a letter to the council against the ceasefire resolution.
We all want to see a ceasefire, but we want to see a ceasefire that leads to peace. And any ceasefire that does not release the hostages and does not remove Hamas from power will only bring us back to this point in the future.
Ashid's opinion aligns with the Biden administration's policy.
The murder of 23,000 Palestinians still hasn't illuminated.
Okay, so you refuse
so-called
to speak
leaders.
to the...
Powerless to change that, activists calling for Israel to stop its bombing campaign have interrupted city council meetings in cities across the country.
You are now disrupting this meeting. So
okay, you are disrupting the meeting. You're ordered removed from this meeting.
In some cases, like at this meeting in Oakland, California, spreading misinformation and baseless conspiracies.
Israel murdered their own people on October 7th.
Dean Preston, a San Francisco city supervisor, says what he's seen at City Hall has been orderly.
We had thousands of people
coming to City Hall. I've been in office 4 years, never seen anything like it in terms of the number of people coming in. These were entirely peaceful gatherings. These folks are coming to their local legislative bodies. They can't go meet with Joe Biden. They can't get 2 minutes in front of the Congress. They can come to their local city council, and that's why they're doing it.
Preston introduced a resolution calling for a ceasefire in Gaza and the release of Israeli hostages that passed. But San Francisco's Democratic Mayor, London Breed, returned the resolution without a signature and issued a harsh statement, saying it made the city angrier, more divided, and less safe. Supervisor Preston, also a Democrat and the son of a Holocaust survivor, says the war is directly impacting San Franciscans.
Just this morning, I heard from a Palestinian American friend here in San Francisco who informed me, and I quote, "7 more members of my family have been killed overnight."
This is not just something happening thousands of miles away. And frankly, when elected officials don't speak to this trauma, folks feel ignored and that their pain is not being recognized.
But the resolutions have no legal authority.
It's not the case that any of our allies look to San Francisco or Cleveland to learn what U.S. foreign policy is going to be. But I do think that they potentially can have an impact, say, within the Democratic Party, in that they can signal the extent of discontent and the sources of discontent around U.S. foreign policy set by the Biden administration.
Whether or not President Biden or even the Cleveland City Council responds, Shireen Nazar has no plans to stop speaking out.
Going through this grief, I felt such an urgency to be in my community and do this work alongside my community, calling for a ceasefire, because I think about the kind of world I want to leave for my kids.
Yeah.
And so we're going to keep showing up. We're going until City Council says we are engaging back with you.
Khalid wants to talk about the ceasefire.
An impasse with no clear end in America's city halls and in the Middle East. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Stephanie Sy.